Every painting begins long before the brush touches the canvas. It begins by noticing, walking through the garden, listening to the birds, looking at the flowers, being curious. I love painting flowers, and I take a lot of inspiration from nature. So very often, especially in the summer, I will go outside and look in the gardens. I call it visiting the flowers, and take a walk and look at the gardens and wander around the property because I really love seeing everything in bloom and then wandering out into the meadow. I love seeing the wild animals, the rabbits and the deer, the turkeys and the pheasants, whatever might be around. Sometimes the fox will go through, or the coyotes. You never know what you might see. It's not a waste of time. It's really part of being curious, and it's all part of the inspiration. I don't start out making a real painting. I start out by making studies. So these are some watercolor studies I made in my sketchbook. I experiment and I observe. It was so hot in Connecticut this week. It was 100 degrees when I was filming this, so I went in my studio and put the air conditioning on, and then I took out some vintage gardening books and I did some work up there just because it was just way too hot to work outside. So you'll see me painting one of the little studies that I did and showed earlier. And in this one, I'm kind of just doing a very loose version. The two I first showed were I did drawings ahead. This one I tried to go really loose, and I pushed myself just to go a little bit faster, and I did not draw anything first because I kind of wanted to be a little bit more spontaneous with it. And when I'm using a photo reference, I don't stay particularly true to it. I may change or exaggerate some of the colors, and I may edit some of it. I may take out some of what's there in the photograph. It's never exactly the same. I'm just using it as an inspiration, and I may change the background to something simple, one color or a color block. And the reason I'm painting this particular one is because this one, even though it's a different flower than the one I'm using for my main demo and painting, it inspired that painting. So it's kind of like an evolution. So the first two were me just like playing with painting flowers, which I love to do. And then I kind of moved into painting this more loose, expressive one. And then when I did this one, I really loved the color scheme. And so that carried through into the final painting. And I really liked it. So it had pinks and magentas, kind of a golden yellow, and then I ended up putting kind of a more bluey green for the background, which was a complementary color to those pinks, and I really liked the way the colors all blended together. I love to paint flowers and any kind of organic objects like trees or plants because they're very forgiving and you can really take a lot of artistic license with them. I also love them for any kind of beginners or people that are new to painting because you can have a lot of success painting them just because of the nature of the object. No two petals are ever the same, or no two leaves are ever the same. If you make a branch crooked or it's not exactly the same as it would be in a tree that you're observing, no one's going to really notice. It's not like a structured object like a building or a person, like where you're really going to notice if something's off. If you make a wonky flower, no one's going to notice and it's still going to come out absolutely beautiful. In this video, I am using Gansai, which is the Japanese watercolor. It's a little bit more opaque than regular watercolor and not as opaque as gouache. But I really love it because it has a lot of unique qualities. It's not quite the same as traditional watercolor. It has different binders in it, and it comes in a lot of different colors because it does not mix the same as traditional watercolor. It does mix a little bit, but it doesn't mix quite the same way. Instead of using gum arabic, which most watercolor uses, our traditional watercolor uses gum arabic as a binder. It uses things like beeswax and glycerin and things like that, so it's a little bit different. It sometimes leaves a little bit of a shininess on the paper. The two larger boxes are Gansai Tambi, which you can buy, and I'll link to, and the other box is only in Japanese, and I have no idea what brand it is because I can't read the writing on it. I'm so sorry that I can't link to that one. I bought it when I was in Italy, and yeah, there was no information with it. I'm sorry about that. I never feel like I'm wasting time doing the preliminary paintings. They're not practice paintings, they're research. So when I'm doing the preliminary paintings, they're more like warm-ups, and I'm getting ideas, and I'm getting into the flow of the paintings and thinking about what colors I want to use or what techniques I want to use. And I kind of used a similar technique in the centers of almost every one of the flowers I painted in this small series. And I intend to go back and do more of these watercolors in my sketchbook because I had so much fun making them. But all of them had kind of intricate centers with contrasting colors, which I loved and wanted to include in my final painting. And this particular painting had a color scheme that I wanted to use again in my final painting, which I did in acrylic, and you'll see when we get there. But this painting, even though it's not the same type of flower, was the inspiration or the color inspiration for my final painting. Now I'm going to be using this vintage garden book from 1947. It's a really cool book, and it has this beautiful peony, which I wanted to use for my final painting in acrylic, and I'm doing it on a wooden panel, a wooden cradled birch panel. And so I did a light drawing in just regular 2B pencil, and I'm going to start with the flower. I have a warm pink and a cool pink. I started with this magenta, which I changed, and I'll go over talking about that a little bit. So in the center, it has some gold accents that I want to get in there right away. Because acrylic dries so quickly, I wanted to have those put in quickly in the beginning, so as I'm painting around, those are drying. because I'm going to need to paint around that later. And so I'm mixing everything with white. I'm creating a lot of different tints. And right now I am putting in some of the darker values, but I wanted to just see how those were going to look. So that's why I kind of popped a little bit of it in just to see how it was going to work. But mostly I'm going to go in and put in some of my light values first and get those put in. In the center of my palette, I have matte medium, which I'm using for flow and for mixing. So if you're wondering what that, the blob in the center is, that is the matte medium that I always use for mixing and flow. And it really helps your paint mix well, and it also helps the flow of the paint, especially when you're using heavy body paints. So I'm not directly copying the peony. I'm responding to it, and I'm thinking, what can I do with this? So now I'm looking at this vintage picture, and I'm not thinking about copying it. I'm thinking about responding to it, and I'm thinking, what can I do with it? Because I don't want to make a copy of it. I don't want to reproduce it. I want to make it something that's more in my own style, and I want it to be more contemporary, or, you know, definitely more me. So when I drew it, I definitely edited a lot out of the background. I added some buds, because that's one thing that I always think is the cutest thing about peonies, because I've always grown them ever since I was really young. We've always had them in our garden. I have them in my own garden as an adult, and I love how round and plump the buds are. And, you know, sometimes you'll have a whole bunch that are blooming, and then you'll have a bunch of these little round buds that are hanging out, and they have beautiful shiny leaves. So I put I definitely reduced the amount of leaves and made them more, I want to say they're more stylized at this point. And then I put far fewer of them in, and then I just added the little buds. And then what I did in the center was I tried a bunch of different magentas that did not work, and added primary magenta, which is a very cool red. And I know that we've talked about it before, but every color has a warm and cool version. And since we're using two warmer pinks, that that lovely primary red was just what we, primary magenta was just what we needed to push those colors back into the flower. And now I'm using a color called Parchment, which is almost a neutral, but it has a green cast, and it's very opaque. And I'm mixing into it the green gold, which is a very transparent green, to pick it up and make it more almost like a sage green, a very soft green. And I'm using that on the leaves. And now I'm kind of doing some little accents on these leaves and giving them a little bit more character, and on the buds as well. We're just adding some details now. At this point, I'm really not looking at my reference anymore. I'm not copying. I'm kind of combining my observations and discoveries, and creating my own color choices and making design decisions. This is how your paintings become your own. At this point, I've already decided that I'm going to be using a turquoise or greenish blue color in the background. So I used a brilliant blue to write peony. I'm going to have to repaint that because we're going to paint around it, but I just wanted to start on it. Now, that first go round didn't work. It was going to be too pale, so I changed it up a little bit and created a color. I'm using cobalt turquoise with lots of titanium white to create a nice opaque color. And then I'm going to just paint around that background, and that is going to make all that color sing when we paint out that negative space. This same process is not just how I paint flowers, it's really how I paint everything. I get an inspiration, I observe, I make sketches and studies, and then I create finished paintings. It's always the same, and that's how you develop style. Your style will just naturally develop if you have a repeatable studio practice. Going back and going over things as many times as you want to, repeating things that really interest you. This all just builds on what you've learned before, and no time you spend creating is ever wasted. Over the years, I've learned that the subject matters less than the process. And when you have a creative practice that you trust, you can paint almost anything. When you're creating your background, really think about if you want colors that harmonize, as in analogous colors or colors in a row, or if you want to be a little bit more dynamic and use complementary colors like I'm doing here. It's up to you. And one way would be a really soft looking painting, or we can have a more dynamic looking painting. But even here, I've softened the color up, so it's not really garish or overwhelming. I've really softened that color up with a lot of white and created tints. And remember, you don't have to reinvent yourself every time you begin. You simply follow the same rhythm. Become curious, observe, sketch, study, experiment, create, and repeat. Style isn't something you build, it's something that accumulates. Every painting leaves behind your own fingerprint. The colors you choose, the shapes you make, the marks you repeat, the compositions you love. Eventually, those repeated choices become your style, not because you chased it, because you worked. Don't worry about finding your style. Build a creative practice. Stay curious. Follow a process you can trust. Let one painting lead naturally to the next, because your artistic voice isn't something you invent. It's something that evolves. Happy painting, everyone.